execute anything. And another one was the Apple culture is anarchy. No one could manage it. You've read all these things in the press. And after 4 weeks, here's what I found. Quite the opposite of these things, actually. Apple's not as relevant as it used to be everywhere, but in some incredibly important market segments, it's extraordinarily relevant. And I want to share some of that with you today. Apple is executing wonderfully on many of the wrong things. The ability of the organization to execute is really high, though. I mean, I've met some extraordinary people at Apple. There's a lot of great people at Apple. They're doing some of the wrong things because the plan has been wrong. And lastly, what I found is rather than anarchy, I found people that can't wait to fall into line behind a good strategy. There just hasn't been one. So, what I see is the makings of a very healthy company with some extraordinarily talented people who are still just as passionate and committed to the dream of computing as they ever were, that need to come together and get a great plan and then start to execute it, and that's exactly what's been happening over the last 4 weeks. Now, what's the fundamental problem? I think the fundamental problem is a little more subtle. I think this is a symptom, but in a nutshell, excuse me. In a nutshell, that's it. Right? Apple's sales in 1995 were 11.1 billion. In 96 they were 9.5 billion, and in this year they'll be, 7 billion plus or minus a little bit. That's the problem, or the symptom, depending on how you look at it. And that needs to be stabilized and turned around, and people are working very hard to do that. So what are some beginning steps that we're going to take? One of the first ones has to be to start at the top. Apple's done a lot of change at the bottom, and I think this change needs to start at the top with the board of directors. Focus on relevance. Apple needs to find where it is still incredibly relevant and focus on those areas. It needs to figure out what its core assets are and invest more in them. Apple has neglected its core assets for a while. It has to forge some meaningful partnerships, not just partnerships and press releases. And it needs to define some new product paradigms. And we've got some great ideas. I'm not going to be talking about products today, though. I just want to let you know that we have some wonderful ideas that you'll be hearing about between now and the end of the year. So let's talk about some of these. Board of directors. Apple had a very decent group of people as their board of directors. They worked very, very hard for Apple. But I think with Apple in the situation it finds itself, it was time for a change. And the directors agreed with that. We have put together a new board of directors that I would like to announce to you today. There are 2 members of the prior board that we are extremely pleased are going to stay on the new board. The first of those is Ed Woolard. Ed is the chairman and former CEO of DuPont. I've gotten to know Ed over the last several weeks, and I think he's terrific and has provided a tremendous amount of leadership during this very critical time for Apple. Next is Gareth Chang. Gareth is the president of Hughes International. Again, he's been on the Apple board for a short while, and Gareth brings a tremendous international experience to Apple, in particular in Asia, which is a very important market and a high-growth market for Apple. And then we're going to add 4 new board members. The rest of the prior board has resigned, and we're going to add 4 new board members to carry the company forward. The first is Larry Ellison, CEO of Oracle. I hope that wasn't a boo I'm hearing. Larry started Oracle in his garage about a year after we started Apple. It's grown to be the second largest software company in the world. We would like to do a lot more in terms of software, and we thought having some software industry expertise would be a good idea on the board. Second board member, Jerry York, former CFO of IBM and Chrysler. Jerry did a lot of the turnaround work at Chrysler and IBM and is extremely well known and respected in the financial community for his work. The third new board member is Bill Campbell, CEO of Intuit. Bill, in addition to being CEO of Intuit, was formerly the Vice President of Sales and Marketing for Apple during some of its heyday, and also ran Claris, and is very familiar with some of the successes and some of the failures that Apple has had, and I think he'll be an extremely good board member. And lastly, I am joining the board as well. I'd like to just take a moment and thank the outgoing board members. I think it has not been an easy job to be a board member of Apple over the last few years, and these are very decent people, and they've been trying very hard to do the right thing for the company. And to welcome our new board members, I think we have a really exciting task ahead of us to help the management team and guide Apple back to health and to prosperity. And so I hope you'll agree that this is a pretty sweeping change. We're adding a tremendous amount of industry expertise. We are not naming a chairman at this time. We're going to wait till we have a new CEO and sort things out when that happens at that time. Now, I put together a little video.